Okay, practitioners, I am over the moon excited. We've got a special guest today. We have Gordon Van Wechel, and I'm going to let him share his story, his background, but you will want to grab some pen and paper and take some notes because we are diving into marketing, which is, I know, everybody's hot topic. Well, welcome to the show, Gordon.
Thank you, Adrien. Excited to be here.
Oh, we're just over the moon excited as well. And I want to dive into all of my questions, but I first want to learn about you and what are you all about? Let's hear your story.
Okay. I'll give you the Reader's Digest condensed version because I'm old. But right after grad school, I did the thing that most people do. I took a job with a big national company. And that lasted about 2.5 years until they decided they didn't like my opinions on how to run the company anymore, and they fired me. So,
How dare they?
really, what a mistake they made. Somehow, I don't understand it, but somehow they are still in business. So I made a promise to myself that I was not going to work for corporate America anymore and started some businesses. I've built and sold 3 companies in 3 different industries. Those are the successes. There were several failures along the way as well, but such is the entrepreneurial life. Mm-hmm. I started my current company, Alchemy Consulting, in 2003. And the motivation was I realized as I had sold my companies that a lot of small and startup businesses need ad agency style marketing, but they can't write that $12,000 or $15,000 check every month and hope something happens. So from the beginning, we launched this company with the intention of helping those businesses develop along with them so we can start small and grow with them. As their business increases, they take some of those profits and invest in more marketing, and we just continue to grow together. And that has been very, very successful for us. We've had companies that started at, doing $2 million. These are larger companies in the home building space, and we took them to 7. But a lot of startups that were struggling along at $6,000 or $7,000 or $8,000 a month, we've helped grow into 6-figure businesses, and now they've expanded and added more practitioners or professional practices that'll bring in another dentist or another attorney. So our focus still stays the same. What can we do to help young companies get started? Because man, I remember the struggle in my own businesses.
Oh, so true.
There was one Wednesday night when I went to bed and I knew I had a payroll due on Friday, and there was no money in the bank to cover payroll, and we had no line of credit room left. So, another time we were opening a restaurant and my banker called and said, "Your line of credit is tapped and I've got bills from your contractors here. How are you going to pay them?" So, I know what it's like. But you're committed to your business. You want to grow. And marketing's an area that most people don't know a lot about. When you start in business, you do so because you have some expertise and you want to share that, and you hope to do so profitably. But it's rare to find somebody that knows their own specialization, but also knows how to grow a company.
Oh, I am just so excited when we connected online, and I was just like, this is just such a need for small businesses. As I've always dreamed when I was starting my practice of like, I wish I had the money to have an ad agencies like you said, who can write that $12,000 check and just like hope and pray it works. But I love this idea of really catering to the small businesses and growing with them. And I'm just so excited to hear all the great basic things that we need to be doing. And I guess kind of my thought when with like where to begin is, I guess, where should all of our listeners begin with marketing? Because like you said, nobody knows marketing. Nobody has that unless you went to school for it, which most of us didn't.
Yeah, well, the reality is most of your potential customers or patients are going to go online looking for a practitioner.
Yep.
Their grandmother's probably looking the yellow pages, but most of the people that you want to do business with are probably going online. And based on statistics, about 73% of them are going to Google. So that's where you really want to focus. And the most basic online presence that I think any business needs includes 3 things. One is a basic website. Now, it doesn't have to be an expensive e-commerce, 30 pages, video. It doesn't need to have all of that stuff, but you need a basic website that does a couple of things. First thing, on the home page above the fold, and that's an old newspaper term, but it's the thing that people see when they first log onto your website before they scroll down. We call that above the fold. So they need to see your phone number. Ideally, they see a short video, but we can live without that. But what's absolutely critical is your value proposition. Why should someone choose to do business with you versus the myriad of other practitioners in your field that are out there? What is it that separates you, your methodology? And you want to be able to state that in, no more than 2 sentences, and ideally, 8 to 12 words. You really want to make that prominent. Here's a trivia question. Next time you're out socially and you're sitting in a club somewhere, ask somebody what the typical amount of time that a person spends on a website.
Oh, maybe seconds.
You're right. You're smarter than most. Typically, you have somewhere between 8 and 12 seconds to make that impression.
Wow.
And if your website looks just like your 5 competitors' websites, the only impression you've made is, gosh, all practitioners are the same. Let me find the one that's the cheapest.
Yep, exactly.
And that's not the race you want to be in. So your website has to have that value proposition above the fold. The other really important page on a website is the About Us page. For many sites, that's the second most visited page when we look at Google Analytics. And the reason for that is if someone's interested enough to pay attention after seeing your homepage, they want more insight on who they might be working with. And so that About page is really important. And ideally, there's a photo. And again, what you want to say on that About page is, well, it's kind of like the first question you asked me, Adrien. Who are you and what have you done? Why are you here? What do you bring to the table? What's your passion? Why should I consider working with you? It needs to be more than your resume. The fact that you went to XYZ University and you studied with Mr. PDQ, who's the guru of the industry, those things are interesting. But what someone who's looking for you as a potential partner / practitioner, they're really looking for, can I resonate with this person? Do they speak in a language that I understand? Do I feel like they're going to be empathetic with me? Are they going to be a person that can really help me solve my problem? One other comment on websites, and then we'll move to the other 2 things. Most business owners, when they design their website, they focus on features. They focus on all the really cool things that they've invented in their business and all the great ideas they have. And for the typical person looking for you, that's ho-hum. Because a lot of times those are platitudes that almost everybody says, and they don't really mean anything. So the language that you want to use on your website has to be benefit focused.
What do you mean by that?
Well, if you do business with me, here are the things that will happen. Here are some examples of other people that I have helped. Here are situations that I've encountered in my practice. Here's how we resolve them. And here's what happened for our client in that situation. And again, you don't mention names or talk specific situations, but you share with people the journey that others have taken, because that's what they're looking for. They want that proof.
Wow. As you're saying all of this, I'm just like, the value proposition, and then about us, like our passion and the why we got into this, and then kind of focusing on the benefits of, what's the outcomes of working with us. That feels like it could get really wordy. And I know a lot of providers, a lot of dietitians will over explain. And if we only got 8 to 5 seconds to convince somebody, how do we pare all that down?
Well, that's a great question. You have 5 to 10 seconds to capture their attention. If you do so, they're going to dive into your site. Now, how much content? This is a catch-22 in my business now, because Google tells us they want to see long-form content. They want 2,500 word blog posts, and most people aren't going to take the time to read that content. And particularly if someone is as technical as a dietitian, you don't really want to explain everything, but you do want to share enough information so that your expertise is demonstrated. You might offer a few quick tips that someone might implement on their own.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a strategy in my business where you give away your 2 or 3 best ideas. And the thinking is, if someone who's visiting your site or reading your blog or has their first contact with you, if they're seeing that you're giving away that much value for free, it makes them think, wow, if I actually retained this person, I'm really going to get a lot of benefit. So don't be afraid to give away some of your real pearls early in the process.
Ooh.
Because it helps people relate to you, and it gives them that subconscious sense that, wow, I need to reciprocate. They're giving me all of this value. I need to talk to them further. I need to give them the opportunity to sell me. Now, they don't think that in their minds, but that's really what they're doing. I should fill out this form and talk with them. I should pick up the phone and call for an appointment.
Yeah.
Oh, I see their Calendly link is here. I'm going to book 30 minutes and talk with this person. Let's do a discovery conversation.
Yeah.
So giving away some of your best stuff on your website is really okay.
Which it's such an interesting concept, is like, oh man, if this is what they're giving away for free, I can't even imagine how cool it would be to work with them. Oh, I bet it's going to be 10 million times better, which hopefully it is.
Well, yeah, and obviously you have to deliver.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing that your audience is pretty intent on delivering full value for their client.
Yeah. So we got our website. We've got a basic website, and hopefully Google is picking us up. What other kind of basic marketing things can we kind of start, I guess, today?
Yeah. Well, one that's easy to start today is to claim your Google business profile.
Oh.
Now, this is a name change. 3 weeks ago, I would have said your Google for Business page, but Google has rebranded now, and it's your Google business profile. It's the same thing, just a new name. And what that becomes is the cornerstone of your presence on the internet. Because in that Google business profile, you're going to list, basic things like your office hours, the type of practice that you have, name, address, phone. But you also have the opportunity to post some of the common questions and answers that you might get from a prospective patient or client. You can upload videos. One of the most important things to do with that page is to make posts on it. They're kind of mini blog posts. You can get away with 300 or 400 words. You always want to have a couple of your keywords, and you want to have a link at the bottom of that so people can go to your website with a simple click. But the reason posting that content is so important is, to Google, that means that you've taken that page seriously and you're continually updating content. And Google will reward you in the search results. They'll put your website higher in the search results if you fully optimize and regularly use that Google business profile. So
that's
it's extremely
great.
important. Yeah. Yeah. It's the cheapest search engine optimization you could get these days, Adrien. And it takes a couple hours to do it properly. We do it for a lot of our clients. We do the regular posting for our clients because, again, if they're busy or they don't like to write, which a lot of people don't, it's easier for them to outsource it.
Yeah.
But that's an important page. Now, the reason I say that's the cornerstone of your presence on Google, there are citation and directory sites that a lot of people have never heard of, but Yelp is a directory site, as an example. Most people know Yelp. The online Yellow Pages is a directory site. So there's literally several thousand of these sites out there. Many of them are niche specific, like for dentists or plastic surgeons or contractors. A lot of them are generic. But those sites are going out, they're sending their bugs out to look for data on businesses, and they're going to search those Google business profile pages, and they're going to pull that data into their site.
Oh, that makes it even easier on our end.
Well, it does, but you have to make sure that's accurate. The other way that you make it easier, and there's a little bit of a cost to this, but there are 3 aggregator sites for these directories. Think of them like the 3 credit reporting bureaus. So these aggregator sites, we can pay on behalf of our clients, and we can upload all of their information to those sites. Well, all of these other sites go to those aggregators and pull data. So that again is a way to leverage a few dollar investment into having a broad impact on the internet. And the reason it's important to maintain a relationship and to claim and optimize those citation and directory sites is the search engine spiders crawl those. And if they find information on there that's incongruent with what they know from your website or your Google business profile, that's a negative. So you want to keep those moving forward. So basic foundation, again, to summarize, you need a proper website. Doesn't have to be huge, but it needs to be well designed. You need that Google business profile claimed and fully optimized. And you want to claim some of these citation and directory sites. You don't need to claim hundreds of them. In fact, Google frowns on that. 2 years ago, we would claim 500, 600 for our clients. Now we don't. Oftentimes, we only claim 50 or 60. But what we're focused on is claiming those sites that are niche relevant and geographically relevant and that have a high domain authority. So that's our criteria as we do this kind of work for our clients.
Interesting.
But those three things will give you a foundation on the internet, and just you're dipping your toe in the water of search engine optimization. It's a long way from search engine optimization, but that's the basics.
I love that. I think because a lot of times providers will come to me and they're like, oh, search engine optimization, SEO, it feels so overwhelming. I've got to be blogging all the time. Who's got time for that? But I really appreciate how you kind of boiled it into making it a lot easier. So we are able to focus on the good work that we need to be doing with patients. I guess my one question is, a lot of providers are going to telehealth and we're able to see patients virtually.
Sure.
Does that change how your Google business profile has, because of like, oh, location, that's nationwide, or does it change at all?
Well, one of the criteria for being able to claim a Google business profile is you have to have a physical place that you do business.
Got it.
And they've gotten real technical about this lately. If you work out of your home, you're not going to get the page.
Yeah.
So, but if you have a business address, and it can't be one of those executive office suites, it has to actually be a business address.
Got
and,
it.
With a little bit of search, if you don't have that, with a little bit of searching, you can find an address that you can use that's, in an office building, or you can, for a nominal fee, a lot of building owners will let you piggyback on their address.
Yeah.
We have multiple offices across the country, and some of those are an address with, Suite M.
Yeah.
We don't take mail there, but
Yeah.
it gives us a presence in that market area.
Yeah. Okay, that helps a lot. I think that's been a big question about because a lot of people are moving to virtual and are thinking about that, and so that makes a lot of sense.
Well, and if you're going to do the Zoom office calls, if you will, that doesn't mean you still don't need a presence online. But what you can do is you can talk about that capability.
Yeah.
And you want to emphasize that because, again, a lot of people, current pandemic, I keep wanting to say post-pandemic, but we don't seem to be there yet.
Yeah.
A lot of people have gotten much more comfortable with telehealth or with teleconferencing or with Zoom meetings, so if that's one of the capabilities for a practitioner, you definitely want to emphasize that on your website and make that prominent.
Yeah. Oh, it's interesting that you say that, because so many people are used to like, oh, do you want to call? And I'm like, do you mean phone call or Zoom call? I don't know which one is the proper one anymore.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, I love these like basic marketing tips. And so we put all these things out there. I hear people like, okay, I got a website, I'm ready to rock and roll. But how do we get people to actually visit it? How do we build up that traffic?
That's step 2, Adrien, is traffic.
Okay.
You're exactly right. Once the basics are in place, then you want to go to step 2, which is traffic. And interestingly enough, if someone goes to our website, we've put these into packages that are exactly what I'm explaining to you. So Digital Jumpstart is a program that we have trademarked, and it includes those 3 things that I just described. The next step is the marketing 3-pack, because once you have that foundation in place, you need to drive traffic. And the way that you do that is with these 3 things. One is working on your online reputation. Reputation is critical for a couple of reasons. One, statistically, depending on which report you read, 85 to 90% of people who are looking for a practitioner are going to go online and look for reviews.
Yep.
They want that social proof that other people have had a good experience.
Mm-hmm.
The second reason is the search engines reward offices that have a consistent flow of positive reviews. They reward them in the search results. So if you have 2 reviews, 2 5-star reviews, and one of your competitors in your market area has 20 5-star reviews, they're going to get presented on page 1 and you're going to be on page 4.
Wow.
Now, obviously, there's other components to the algorithm, but at a very simplistic level, the point I want to make is the importance of having that reputation program in place.
Mm-hmm.
The next component of the marketing 3-pack is retargeting. Retargeting may not be a familiar term, but you've experienced it. If you've ever shopped on Amazon or eBay, you look at a product and then for the next week, you see ads for that product. Well, you've been retargeted.
Yep.
Well, we do the same thing. We put a piece of code on your website so that anyone who visits your website is retargeted, and we can show them ads as they continue to explore the internet, whether it's on their desktop or on their phone. We can present your ads, your brand in front of them with banner ads. And typically we generate between 5 and 10 sets of ads. Each set is 16 different ad sizes because there are 16 uniform sizes that are used on web pages across the internet.
Wow.
So we have to provide the ad exchanges with all 16 sizes for every ad. Now, I just used another term, the ad exchanges. There are 12 of them in the world. One doesn't work in North America, so we don't use them, but we do participate with the other 11. So when we're doing retargeting for one of our clients, we have our own proprietary dashboard that we interact with ad exchanges. We get those loans approved, and then we market those loans. We're A/B split testing them. We're bidding so that we can stay competitive with whatever the market's doing in that niche in your area. So it has become a complicated process, but it's a great way to keep your brand in front of somebody, because if they visited your website, they're obviously looking for what you do. They may not be ready to make a decision, but that's the whole point, is let's keep your brand in front of them.
Yeah.
Google tells us, and this is really important for your listeners to understand, Google tells us that 96% of the people who go to your website will leave without making a decision.
Oh, that's heartbreaking.
Which means they don't pick up the phone, they don't fill out your web form. They may look, they may spend a lot of time on your site, but they just don't make a decision. They continue to shop.
Wow.
Well, with retargeting, you can stay in front of them while they do shop.
Oh, 96%. Oh, that's just heartbreaking when you put all this work into your website and they're leaving. So that makes sense why retargeting is so important.
Yeah.
Man.
And then the third component of the 3-pack is Google Ads. Google Ads drives traffic. For a new business, it is the only way to get on page 1 of the search results in any reasonable length of time at any reasonable cost. And people have this perception that AdWords can be very expensive, and it can. You know, if you're a personal injury attorney in Los Angeles, you would be glad to pay $200 per click.
Holy bananas.
But for most local practitioners, depending upon your niche and your area, you may be buying clicks for as little as, $3 or $4 or $5. You might have some really competitive keywords that are costing you $15 or $18 per click. But again, with a very modest budget, you can take advantage of all of the strength that Google has with their ads campaign, and then our management, because we'll go in and do a really extensive keyword analysis, and we're going to find that balance of keywords that combine competitiveness with the amount of search volume on that keyword to try to maximize whatever limited budget you have for that. The other thing we do, and this is really important, and again, this is something a lot of agencies don't do, is negative keywords. You don't want to pay for searches that are not relevant to exactly what you're offering. The classic example is an implant dentist. Well, he certainly doesn't want to pay for someone who's searching for breast implants.
This is true. Yeah.
Totally different.
Yeah, totally.
And you don't want to pay for somebody that might be looking for a job in your field. I mean, unless you're hiring and you're running an ad for that. But if someone's looking for employment, you don't want to pay for them to click on your ad, hoping that maybe you might be looking for someone.
That's so true. Oh, that's
So
that's
those
a great
negative
thing.
keywords are an important part of the program to save you money.
Wow.
So that's the second step, is driving traffic through your reputation, through retargeting, and through Google Ads.
Man.
Now, another question that we get a lot is, well, what about social media? Do I need to do all that other stuff? Can't I just use social media?
You were reading my mind. That was my next question, because it's like, well, that just seems like so much work, but social media, that's fun.
Well, again, when we have a discovery conversation with someone, what we're really looking to do is find out who their ideal prospect is. And oftentimes they know that, oftentimes they don't. And sometimes we'll talk with a business owner who says, look, everybody needs what I offer. They may not know it yet, but they need it. And that would be fine if you had Coca-Cola's ad budget, but I'm guessing you don't.
Probably not, yeah.
So what we want to do is really hone in on who are your ideal customer avatars. Who's the person you really want to talk with? Who, as you decided to open your practice, really was the target market, the person that you thought would best benefit from what you offered.
Mm-hmm.
And, we want to understand them demographically and psychographically.
Yeah.
That also helps us in retargeting, by the way, because we can focus our retargeting. I laugh when I do presentations to groups. I'll say, look, if you want to target a woman between 30 and 45 who has 2 kids at home, college degree, drives a Volvo, and enjoys Yoplait yogurt, I can put you in front of that person.
That's very specific. Yeah.
Well, social media is the same thing, Adrien. Once we understand who your ideal target is, then we have to work on, well, where do they go for information? And some people will go to Facebook, some will go to LinkedIn, some will go to Pinterest, but it's rare that someone will go to all 3. So where do we spend your time and money? Where do you invest your time creating content, or where do you spend your money outsourcing that? When do you decide to boost a post if you're going to put something on Facebook? When do you decide to pay for advertising on social media? Well, if you don't know who your ideal prospect is and where they go for information, you're going to waste a lot of time and money.
Oh, so true. I hear a lot from providers. They're like, oh, I've been putting out so many things on Instagram and everything, and their ideal client is spending all their time on TikTok. And so it's just one of those, like, how to really understand. If you don't, like you said, if you don't understand your ideal client and where they go for information, it's very important. But I've always steered people away from social media. I'm like, do you search the TikToks and the Instagram posts for your physician? Like, why would you do it for a provider?
Exactly. That's so true. But there's this perception out there that if you're not on social media, you must not be a very good business owner. You're derelict in your responsibilities. But then on the other side, we talk to a lot of business owners who have several employees, and they're tearing their hair out because my employees are on that damn Facebook all day long.
Exactly. So finding that balance. But I think what would be, if I could wave a magic wand when I was first starting back out, it would be to hire somebody to do all of this. Like, I would not want to waste my brain space, because I could figure it out, but it would take hours upon hours. I'd probably get it wrong. I'd go back. I'd probably mess something up. I wouldn't do it right. So do we need to hire you guys? You're an agency when we're first starting out. Is that something that, like, I'm listening to, I'm like, man, I wish I would have done this a long time ago, but should we do that?
Obviously I run an agency, so I'm biased. Yes, I want you to hire an agency.
Yes, of course.
But here's the way that I would encourage your audience to think about it. You can hire an agency without spending, without having to mortgage your house. And there are agencies, as you and I were talking before the show, like ours, that will work with a small company with the understanding that as your company grows, we will continue to add more marketing services and grow with you. And that's a model that's worked very successfully for us. But my usual question for a business owner when they say, oh, I don't want to spend money on an agency is, great. what is your expertise? What do you enjoy doing? How much do you know about marketing? And do you really want to spend your time and your money trying to learn something that you don't know very well because it takes you away from what you should be doing?
Oh, yeah.
It's the same. It's the same for me. The fact that I know how to do a lot of things in our company doesn't mean I should be doing them. That's why over time, as we grow a company, we build a team. Put people in place that really like those jobs and do them well, and get out of their way and let them do it.
Exactly. But I think what is the hardest thing for people to get over is that financial investment. They're like, oh my gosh, I'm just spending more and more money. And it's, I think, kind of flipping the script for them and understanding like you're spending money to have patients to make money. And I think that's the hardest and easiest thing for people to understand.
But you don't just hire an agency and forget that they're out there. You've got to hold an agency accountable. They need to be able to show what the results are from that ad spend.
Yeah.
If you're giving an agency $500 or $1,000 a month for ad spend, you want to know how many impressions did that get? How many clicks did that get? But what are the conversion rates? How many of those people that are looking at my website are actually picking up the phone eventually and calling?
Yeah. Interesting that you said that. I was just working with one of my coaching clients, and she did hire an agency, and I was like, oh, how's it going? She's like, I don't know. And I was like, well, did you get a report? What did they say? Or they like, how many people are clicking? And she's like, well, I don't even know what questions to ask them.
Yeah.
And so that, I know.
That's so annoying to me to hear that, because I work in an industry where the barrier to entry is very, very low. Adrien, you could go to a weekend seminar and on Monday, put yourself out there as a marketing expert because, you learned something at the seminar. We're not licensed. There's no government regulation of our industry. And there's no prospect of that on the horizon, unfortunately.
Yeah,
but,
wow.
I think when someone's interviewing an agency, there's really a couple things they should look at. One, they should look at the reviews. Just like somebody is looking at your reviews, you should look at an agency's reviews.
Yeah.
Look at their website. What do they do? Do they look and act professionally? Do they have a team of people that actually look like they probably know what they're doing? Ask them about their accountability. What sort of reporting are you going to give me? And how frequently? Who will I be working with? The fact that, you are the owner of the company and you've sold me. Will I ever hear from you again? Or am I going to get put off to somebody else who's trying to manage 30 other accounts? So those are the kinds of questions that you certainly have the right to ask as a business owner, and you should be asking.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great thing.
Yeah. It's no different than anybody else that you would hold accountable. If you go to a medical specialist, you certainly expect them to tell you in detail what they're finding.
Yeah. As opposed to it's like, it's fine.
Yeah, it's okay. Here, take some of these and I'm sure you'll feel better.
Yeah. Well, what does that mean? I don't know. Yeah.
Right. That's right. So, the bottom line answer to your question is, in most cases, I think that yes, it would behoove a practitioner to consider bringing on an agency, only because that takes that whole part of growing their business off of their back. For the most part, you still have to hold them accountable, but it allows you to focus on working with the people that come to you and building your practice that way. And doing the thing that you enjoy doing. You didn't get into business to wear 15 different hats.
No. Some of the hats you might have to wear for a while, like HR director and all that. But being the head marketing agent of a business is, that's a whole degree and thing.
Especially in today's day and age. Our Google rep tells us that Google changes their algorithm more than 1,000 times a year. Now, those aren't major changes. Those are little tweaks. But you think about it, that's 3 or 4 tweaks for about every business day of the year. So it's impossible to keep up with everything.
Yeah.
So, it's difficult for us, and we're in it every day. We have agency reps, but
Wow, that's
For a
impressive.
business owner, there's no way that you can keep up.
Oh no, and you lose every marble you had trying to.
That's right. That's right.
Oh well, Gordon, I just love. I've taken like a handful of not a handful, a whole page full of notes just on my own. Where can we continue to learn from you? Because it just feels like there's just. I feel like I need to ask you a million more questions. So how can we keep learning from you?
Well, let me give you two things. One, people can go to our website, thealchemyconsultinggroup.com. Alchemy is ALCHEMY, of course, thealchemyconsultinggroup.com. The other thing that I'll offer your audience is a free digital copy of my most recent book, Core 5 Marketing. And you can get that at Core 5, numeral 5, core5marketing.com.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much. I can't wait to go and download it and get to reading because, man, I feel like we just skimmed the surface.
Well, when I wrote the book, it was designed to give people some of the practical things they would need to implement themselves, but obviously with the hope that they get overwhelmed and decide they should hire us.
Yes. Well, I hope that this has inspired a lot of our listeners to dip their foot in, but realize that they need to hire. And I think that as a really successful business owner, somebody that has bought and sold other companies, that, do what you're good at and hire for what you're not good at.
Exactly.
Oh, Gordon, thank you so much for hanging out with us. This has been an absolute delight. And we'll put all of these links in our show notes. And I'm just over the moon excited. I've took so many notes.
Cool. Thanks so much for the opportunity. It was great to talk with you. Let's do it again sometime.
Yes. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.